everybody, I hope you're all well. I am filming this, just so you are aware, on Monday, late afternoon, but it's just gone 5 o'clock that I'm filming this on the Monday, but my broadband has been playing up today, so I'm going to try and get this uploaded on Monday. If not, you'll be seeing this on the Tuesday, so just FYI. I've only been away, just over a week, I think it is. But I had to take a little bit longer with the review of this book, simply because I didn't start this book until Saturday. I had things on Saturday. I spent Sunday with my mum and dad, and I've been working today. But I finished the book I am here to review right after work today. I've just been working as usual. So nothing much to update on my life apart from work. And just FYI, you might hear my stomach rumble in this video because I am starving. So let's let's get round to this review, see if I can kick off uploading it today. If not, as I said, you'll get it tomorrow, and hopefully you won't hear my stomach rumble and I can go get some food. But I am here to review The Lighthouse Witches by c.j.cooke. Now, this is my first time reading c.j.cooke's work, and funnily enough, I realised once I picked this up that I actually have another one of her books in my book collection upstairs. I have The Nesting, which this, as it says on the back or something, doesn't it say, from the writer of the acclaimed book, The Nesting or something, I can't remember. Oh no, because I think it's on Goodreads or something, it mentions it, but so I have another one of her books, never picked it up, so there we go. So even though this is my first experience of reading one of her books, I do actually have another one. And so yes, so I picked up The Lighthouse Witches. Now, what is this about? This is about a woman called Olivia, or Liv, in 1998, who drives up to the Highlands of Scotland with her 3 daughters. So there is Sapphire, who's 15, Luna, who's 9, and Clover, who is 7. And she drives up there with her daughters because she's been commissioned to paint a mural inside a lighthouse, which is right here. And can I just, this cover is just absolutely beautiful. I love it. So she's painting this mural. And she is this mysterious man who has asked her to paint this inside this lighthouse. And it's in a very interesting place on an island that's everybody knows everything about everyone. It's very, very small place. And whilst they are there, 2 of her daughters go missing, and then she goes missing, leaving behind just Luna, who was 9 years old at the time. 22 years later, Luna gets a phone call to say that Clover, her youngest sister, has been found. And so she goes up to the Highlands of Scotland to be reunited with her now 29-year-old sister, only to find that Clover is 7 years old, exactly the same as when she disappeared, with no memory whatsoever about what happened to her. Luna has very few memories herself about her time in Scotland, and she has to piece together the puzzle of what actually happened when they were in Scotland to discover the truth about what happened to her family, and also answer the question of how can Clover still be 7 years old. So there we go. So that's the whole plot of the book. So as I said, I went into this with absolutely no experience of CJ's writing whatsoever. I read up about her and that she had written, various books. So this wasn't her first book. It was just my first experience of her writing. So I was like, okay, she's an established author. I'm not going into this going like this is debut novel. I will give her some credit here, there, for various flaws and such. So let's see how we go. Okay, now I am going to say just outright, I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed it. I had some irks, which I will cover, but overall really enjoyed it. Now, Irk number one. It's a problem. It's a me problem. It's a me irk. I don't like it when you have very short chapters. And when I say very short chapters, I mean chapters that are around 3 pages long. Every single chapter of this book is like that. Now, but what is very interesting, though, is that they are in groups of 5. So you will have a section that will be called like Olivia. And then you'll have 5 of these very, very short chapters about Olivia. And then you'll have Sapphire. And you'll have 5 chapters, it's always 5, about Sapphire. And then it'll do 5 for Luna, and so on and so on. And it will go like that. So the whole time I was thinking, why do you need 5 short chapters to focus on one person? If we know that it is this one person, why don't you just combine the chapters together and make it like 2 or 3 at a push? So that was an irk. As the book got along and we went into the latter sections where it was more 1 to 2 chapters, we were jumping between people, and then eventually every chapter we were looking at somebody else. Those short, sharp things, because of the moment and what you needed to know, made sense. So even though it was an irk for me that you had such short chapters and you had so many groups of short chapters that you could easily have made into, like, as I said, combine the 5 chapters together to make like 2 or a push 3. Even though you could do that, I could understand for the later sections of the book why that structuring was more important. But yeah, it was just a bit of a, I was like, oh, short chapters. Oh, I'm going to love this book, like that through my teeth. Now, other thing, perspectives. When it came to Olivia, and distinctly Olivia, or Liv as she gets referred to all the time in this book, because it's how she likes to be referred to. Olivia was first person perspective. It was, her point of view, fine, totally no problem with that. Everybody else in the book was written as third person first perspective. And I can't stand third person first perspective. I clung on through, though, because I just kept thinking, the chapter structures, as I mentioned, you've only got, X number of pages before you're going to possibly have a break in this. And if you don't have a break in this, it won't be long after that you will get a break in it. So that is what encouraged me to keep going with the third person first perspective. Again, this is a me thing. It irks me to have things like, Olivia thinks this, Olivia thinks that, Olivia is walking there and walking there. And I'm like, oh my God, well, not Olivia, because I said it other than Olivia. Okay, Luna. But it was just like, that really irks me. That really irks me. I just have an issue with that perspective, that tense. I don't know why, I just do. So that was a me thing. So again, they're the me things out of the way. When it came to the actual story itself, I was like, I love my Gothic literature if you've been around on my channel before, and I love Laura Purcell. Laura Purcell is a modern Gothic writer who chef's kiss. Apart from Distant Hours, which not Distant Hours. Yeah, it's Something of Darkness. It's gone out of my head now. Apart from that one book, because she's published one since that came out earlier this year, but the one before that, I did have issues with that book. But all of her other ones, like The Silent Companions, my God, I can still feel the chills from when I read that book. I wanted to go there with this book on the chill factor. It didn't quite get me. It didn't quite. There were moments where I went, oh God, or, I had a bit of a gasp and I was like, oh yay, this is really getting going. But it didn't quite hit me with that coldness that I really wanted to feel. It is atmospheric. It does have the goods, but she doesn't quite go there with it. And I really wanted CJ to do that in order to really, I wanted to be able to feel like the waves splashing, against the lighthouse and such. And even though she described those things, I didn't quite feel it. I didn't feel the coldness that was there. But I did, obviously, when creepy things happened, I was like, oh gosh, that's interesting to go there. So it is haunting. It is a haunting story, but it just isn't quite there, you know. Speaking of haunting, the story very much reminded me of, if you've watched it, you know what I'm talking about, Netflix's The Haunting of Hill House, or The Haunting of Bly Manor, with the children and the various things and spinal staircases and, you know, that kind of thing. Very much brought that to mind when I was reading this, and I loved that. That association thing that I had in my mind of families and Gothic stories and such. There was something very lovely to have that familiar connection, so to speak. I will say, I really liked the characters. I thought the setting was great. There were things that she revealed that I didn't anticipate were going to be revealed. There was stuff, little, quite like JK, that I love, the little things that she dropped here and there that I had no idea were massive consequential things until she revealed it at the end. It was like, boom, drop the mic kind of moment. So yeah, I completely loved CJ for that. And it was so interesting that I went into this and I kept on thinking about, you know, the negative things of the short chapters, the tenses that were going on, you know, all of it's not quite cold enough, it's not quite there. But I carried on, and by about, I don't know, the 150 page mark, I was like, this is getting really good. And I was there and I flew through the rest of the book. I think yesterday when I went to Mum and Dad's, I was about 130 pages into the book. And last night, when I went to bed, I was at about 310 or something. And I finished the book today and it's 415 pages or something, and I had to do some bit of reading in the morning, bit of lunch, and then bit at the end of the day, because obviously I've been working today. So clearly it ticked the boxes, because I give books like 100 pages, don't I, usually, to really capture me. And her writing is undeniable. She has got something. And when you read the first page of this book, it slaps you across the face and like, oh, hell yeah. Well, as soon as I read it, I was like, hell yeah, I am in. This is great. This is what I wanted. And then to have that very slow burn and build up, I kind of realized, okay, that was why she was doing what she was doing. Maybe that's why, you know, with the structuring and all that lot. And as I said, from about 150 pages, I was like, bam, I'm in. I'm all in with this. And I flew through it. I really enjoyed it. When it comes to the end of the book, and obviously I'm not going to reveal anything, I'm not going to say any spoilers, there were a couple of things where I had problems with the end of the book. And I'm not saying, you know, issues in regards to the final chapter and the choices as a writer that she made for her characters. None of that. There was one particular character who I was a bit like, so you did all of that and that's your outcome? That's what it was. There was just one character out of everyone, one character who I went, of all the things you could have possibly done for them, or to them, should I say, as a writer, because you can do whatever you like, I don't necessarily agree with that choice. But it's not my world. So, you know, to have, out of all the characters that you come across, and you come across a lot of them, to have one character who I'm a little irked by what their ending was. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. If I'd said that about multiple people, or, you know, you did great and then you fell at the final chapter and you screwed everything up and I'm not, you know, I'm not like that. I'm satisfied with this ending, apart from this one character who I think could have had, or I think deserved, a bit more comeuppance for what they did. But, you know, that's my thing. That's how I feel. Yeah, so overall, despite the irks, and especially the me irks that I have with books, it kept me captivated. I thought it had great atmosphere. At times I, you know, gasped. At times I was like, oh my God, you know, I was enthralled by it. It was very atmospheric. The story was well paced for what it was, and I was satisfied with the ending. There was just some irks that I had that I was like, oh, if only. But for the first time reading her work and recognizing how cryptic she is with things, how she places things and makes you think that these are nothing, just throw off little words, even singular words. They're a huge deal. Like, I am really taken aback by her writing, and to come up with a story like this in this very eerie, kept your words right, Becky, you can tell it's the end of the day, can't you? I'm a bit tired. In this eerie location where anything is possible, and some really quite creepy as fuck moments in this book. I'm just like, fair play to you, CJ. That is not easy to construct. That is not easy in the slightest. And she wrote it very, very elegantly and such, even though the tenses really did piss me off from time to time. I did enjoy it. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's a story. Also, there was one thing I wanted to mention. I'm going to try and say this without saying any spoilers because it's very, very difficult. But, you know, there is an aspect in this book, particularly about being a woman, that I really loved, was part of the story, to do with Liv. There you go. I mentioned the character, but I won't mention what it is. And I think it's important that things like that get put into books, that because there are certain things that we feel are taboo, that we shouldn't talk about, that we shouldn't necessarily represent, but it's important that we represent them. And so I really applaud CJ for doing what she did with Liv, and also having Liv be such a strong character, single mother of 3 daughters whose life has been turned upside down, and depicting Liv as a mother, as a woman, as a person, as a soul, as, you know, a real, genuine, real woman. I loved the conflicts that she goes through, and the things that there are some passages that in Liv's chapters particularly, which I just, oh my God, I was really, really quite touched by. So I want to applaud CJ for including the element of Liv's story, which I'm not going to reveal because of spoilers, but what she chose with Liv. I think she did a great choice there. Okay, so I'm going to stop there because my stomach is going to start rumbling quite loudly soon. I hope the microphone hasn't picked up on it, but my stomach's been rumbling all the way through this. So let's finish this up, see if my broadband will cope and I can get some food in my stomach. So my usual questions. Would I read this again? Yes, definitely. And now that I know what I know, it'd be very interesting to reread and go, oh my God, I didn't capture that. wow, it was right there in front of my face and I just couldn't see it. I'm very much looking forward to rereading this. Would I recommend this to anyone? Yes, I definitely would. And especially like I've got a cousin who loves witches, loves October, loves Halloween, all that lot, and she's been involved in a podcast which talk about witches, and I messaged her, she has never read this book, and I said you have to read it, so, and she's going to go out and get a copy. So yay, I'm glad that she's the one person who I really want this to recommend this book to is going out to get it. And my mum, actually, because I was telling her about it when I was at her and Dad's place on yesterday, on Sunday, she wants to borrow it, so there we go. And my sister wants to read it now as well. So the three people who I really, really want to recommend to read this book are all going to read this book. So there we are. Would I read any more of CJ's work? Definitely, yes. And I'm really glad that I've got another one of her books upstairs. So as soon as possible, I can include them in my priority jar, include it, should I say, in my priority jar, and then I can get reading. So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Lighthouse Witches by c.j.cooke. Have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. Leave me comments in the comments box below. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, tell me what you get decide. And I'll be back with my thoughts on my next read, which I've already announced, which is Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I absolutely loved the film of this. And so, yeah, as this is the tie-in cover. And so, yeah, I'm going to read the book, or should I say books, because this is actually two books in one. And also look out for, if I can find it, the Angela Lansbury adaptation that was done in the 90s of this, and see how it compares to the new film. So yeah, I'll be up with my thoughts on that as soon as I'm done. All right then, everyone, bye.